Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Sebastian Botzler. I'm the coordinator of the EERAdata project, and I'm very glad that you have time and you save time to participate in this workshop. So the next 45 minutes to an hour, I would like you to introduce the EERAdata project to you with all details and the planned goals. And then afterwards, we will have a question and answer session. This is a very brief and very short uh, agenda, but we see this event as kind of the trigger for a lot of upcoming events over the next months. So this will be the introduction to you, that you understand what we are doing. And then over the next months, we will have several workshops focusing on specific topics like the technical functions of the tool, the implementation of the EERAdata, the use of our findings. And we would invite you to join these workshops directly after. So every workshop has a different stakeholder group we are focusing on, and we will invite you specifically to that. So please see this as an impulse for further ideas, for the questions and collaboration, which will go on until mid of next year. Yeah, so please, if you have any doubts, any technical issues, write in the chat box, as I said. The session is recorded, so if you want to share the presentation with colleagues or other people, please let us know, and we can arrange this. Good. So, the EERAdata project. Where it's coming from. The basic idea is that to tackle climate change, buildings play a major role, and the European Union realized that, and I think all of you know that already. They comprise 40% of the total global energy consumption, 36% of CO2 emissions in the EU are related to private and public buildings. And renovating the building stock means we can reduce the primary energy consumption to 51% in 2050 if we do it the proper way and the deep way. The problem is current renovation rates are blocked around below 1%, depending on the country in the EU Commission, or even 0.6%. The goal for renovation action is 3% of renovation rates. So I think it's our goal and our task as municipal leaders or as researchers to find solutions to push this. One of these solutions was the energy efficiency first principle, and it's actually a principle which is pushing energy efficiency as an energy source in its own right. It's a program by the European Union as well, and the IEA called it the first fuel in 2013, which means we should go first for energy efficiency and second for energy supply. And this principle is the basis also for the call where the EERAdata project was basing on. Yes. And what is the starting point for us is we want to prove if this energy efficiency first principle is the right approach, or should we focus on renewables first, or district heating, or all these other options. But we are here to prove that renovation is the right way to go. And we want to gather evidence on the benefits of energy efficiency in ecological, socioeconomic terms, as well as its interactions with broader policy context and the energy market. So we go beyond energy saving, because we think that energy efficiency has much more to offer than that. So what is EERAdata in a nutshell? We start from the bottom, or bottom is the wrong word. We start from the details and go to the broader picture. So we assist municipalities, and we have 3 of them in our team: Copenhagen, the region of Andalusia, and Velenje, by the collection of building stock data from different sources. And we help them to analysis and assess these data by ecological, economical, and environmental criteria. Second step is then that we are developing a tool which is enabling the cities and regions to make the assessments by themselves. So they provide us with the data, and they can perform the assessment by themselves with this tool we are developing at the moment. And the last and most important, or not most important, but the long-lasting output is the long-term renovation strategies. So our reports and findings will help municipalities to establish a strategy on deep renovation, on sustainable urban planning, and on energy efficiency in general, including socioeconomic benefits and ecological quality of existing buildings. Just to briefly show you the consortium we are consisting of. So it's us, the Technical University of Munich, who is coordinating the project. Then we have ITTI from Poland, who are programming and developing the tool. We have Trilateral Research, who is responsible for data science in our project and data collection, preparing assessments. We have the Arquitectos de Málaga, Coama, who are our first implementing head, and they will lead the implementation phase and the practical testing. We have the municipality of Velenje, who is an implementing partner, and Xena, also from Slovenia, Velenje, who is our energy agency and responsible for the energy supply side and the implementation. We have the city of Copenhagen as a practical partner implementing our tool, the region of Andalusia the same, and the Danish Technical University, who is our specialist, who are specialists for indoor climate and the methodology development of the tool. Why did we pick these partners? It's not coincidence. We wanted to have 3 clusters for implementation, regional clusters we call them. So we have the Scandinavian part, which is representing the northern climate and northern building culture as well. We have Spain as representative for the southern cluster, a regional cluster representing the southern climate, southern building styles, southern policies. And then we have Velenje as the middle and mild climate with mountain areas, and also the contact to the Balkan region is very interesting. What we want to have a strong stakeholder network, and this is also why you're all here today, because we need to push our ideas and findings into the different regions and municipalities, and we want to collaborate outside the consortium the next months and weeks. This is why we offer these workshops, and we hope to find also symbiosis with other projects. If you have any questions to that, we can answer them later on. And I'm always free to be contacted over my email address. So next would be a little video introducing the EERAdata project from some of these stakeholders. So I will give the floor to the video now for the next 2 minutes. It's a very brief video, so please stay tuned, and then we will continue with the technical details of the project.
So from my perspective, for municipalities, it's very important to also gather information not only about their own buildings, but on the general building stock in their municipality. And I see, at least in Germany, that there is a huge gap still for calculating or making correct calculations of energy performance for the non-residential sector in Germany, for specific buildings, but also for the residential sector. And I think this is something that might be improved with the project too.
I think this project is very interesting because it's gathering interesting partners who were already involved in previous projects. I'm thinking about the TUM or Chalmers or the city of Copenhagen. And those partners got already a stronger knowledge of subjects that I'm interested in, such multiple benefits of energy efficiency, which I think are good leverage if you really want to achieve your goals in terms of refurbishment. And those topics related to health, well-being and productivity policy could definitely ring the bells to public opinion leaders that help to achieve our goals regarding the Paris Agreement.
So what is EERAdata doing? We operationalize the energy efficiency first principle by assessing and quantifying relevant technical, economic, socioeconomic, environmental variables, indicators, and impacts across relevant sectors and markets. So what means several relevant sectors and markets? For us, it's municipalities, but the effects that we have are also tackling the regional economy and, for example, individual health and different aspects. So this is what we mean with relevant sectors and markets. As I mentioned before, the first step is to assess and quantify the relevant technical indicators and impacts. So we are looking into our municipalities and regions and check with surveys, with workshops, with roundtables, what are the basic data, the basic requirements, building codes, standards they are having in each country and each region. And we're creating our baselines out of that. The next step is to merge everything in the decision support tool, our DST, and providing these assessments, as I said. And the third part is the framework for the whole data analysis, which we're building on top of that. For us, integration is the most important thing, which means we don't want to develop a tool which is forgotten after the research project is over, like a lot of other tools happened before. We want to integrate the tool from the first step into the processes of a municipality. We want to integrate it in existing environments, like tools that municipalities and regions use already, or existing simulation environments, or budgeting schemes. And we want to integrate it into workflows. So the user, you, the staff members, the planners, decision makers in municipalities and regions, and energy agencies should use our tool seamlessly in their workflow. So it should not be something very complicated and very hard to integrate. The next one would be the integration in the data streams, which is a very hard topic or a difficult topic, but I think we're on a good path here, is to use your data and municipality data, which is usually stored in databases or in protected environments. And we want to use these for our assessments, and we combine it with data that we are providing. We want to integrate our results into existing policies, and we want to integrate it within the data protection of a municipality region and within the policies that are existing. So what data do we actually collect, and how does it look like? I have here a small sketch showing the data collection from two sides. One side is the data collection that we are performing at the municipalities regions level, which is with direct contact with our implementing partners, Copenhagen, Valenia, and Andalusia. And they have two options. They can provide us with the database or the excerpts of their databases. If it's the building stock database, is it a renovation database, a budget database, or they provide us with manual entry data saying, okay, this is a very specific thing like occupant data. This is something I provide you personally. And the data that is covered is municipal data, building stock data, then socioeconomic data like job wages, workforce, health issues of the population, the productivity of occupants indoors, all these aspects. Then we have environmental data, which is basically, in our field, it's basically life cycle assessment, and then policy and regulation data, which is very important for us to create the right framework, to know what is the baseline in each country. And we want to go beyond this baseline, so we should know how it looks like. From the EERAdata side, we provide the scientific data, the models, the algorithms, the statistical data that we have from other projects, from experiments, and from different countries and different programs that were already established. Also experimental data and knowledge data that, for example, productivity increase. It's very experimental data out of scientific tests, and we are bringing that together with the real data from the municipalities. Here you see it again. So what are the different sides we have? We have the real data describing the project building. For example, the materials, geometry of a specific building, the fuel source, heating system, ventilation system, type of window size, occupancy. So we try to gather as much information as we can get from one building to perform our assessments. For example, the window size is important for the indoor climate assessment to show, okay, the opening of a window ventilation changes by the window size, and we can simulate then the indoor climate quality and also the productivity which is coming from the indoor climate quality and the risk of health issues, for example. So this is why we try to get the most detailed data here, and we help our partners here. If we don't get the data from them, we use default data from our data sets, which is data sets from other municipalities, other projects, as I mentioned, statistics that we have, or projects like Tabula, where they assign a lot of building characteristics to the specific regions and building ages. So we fill the gaps that we encounter in the whole process with our own data. This is the process. And then additionally, we have the data which is available and necessary for the calculations that we're performing, of course. Just to give you a few ideas of what we're looking into. For example, we have the metadata, I call it like that. It's our algorithms, data protection laws, the data of the user types, the roles, expert roles. And we have demographic data we're looking in, for example, the number of inhabitants, migration, age structures, poverty. Then we have geographical data. This is the most important one for us. Like we need the coordinates, weather data, terrain data, climate data, the time zone. This is very basic for our calculations. So for example, if we don't get the energy consumption data from a building, we can at least, based on the coordinates and the weather data and the geometry of a building, assess and estimate the energy consumption. Then we have the building specific data, which is also the core of the project: floor area, building age, facade area, energy systems, window ratio. Also the technical building services are part of it: heating systems, heat recovery, cooling systems. Then building specific consumption data, energy consumption, water consumption. Where is the energy coming from? Do you have district heating? The materials, U values, insulation materials, building occupants, how many people are working in the building, then desiredly age distribution, health data, but this is very hard to get. Actually, it's usually behind the privacy barrier, but we also work with the averages here, schedule, sick days, and so on. Then water consumption, socioeconomic assessment, so how much is actually energy costing, economic data, workforce, how big is the potential for creating jobs in a municipality? What are the tax returns from constructing a building? What are the wages for the workers? How much is the potential in the sector, in the market? Is there a municipality without any planning companies or construction companies? Then, for example, this benefits would be very low. Then we have environmental data, air pollution, emissions, wood-fired heating, LCA assessment, energy supply data, building renovation data, cost and budget data, policies and norms. And we collect all this information, and then we give the user the chance to select some renovation measures on the building. And based on our assessments, we can provide them with extra information of benefits that are created by the renovation itself. Here, for example, we have minimum requirements like coordinates, weather data, floor area, a room height or building height, ground surface area. This is kind of the minimum basics that we need to get our tool running. But what is the tool actually doing? Now I'm talking about data, but you want to know what results we're producing, what actually the purpose of it is. So the first section here, you see the data preparation part. And then we have a chain of modules performing assessments. And it will look like that. You as a user, you start the tool and you will be able to select a building on a map. And then on the second stage, you will select the renovation measures you want to perform on this building. And usually in the old school scheme, you would have the energy consumption, you would have the energy savings over the time, you might have some LCA performed or environmental impacts by the building. In our tool, we will go beyond that. We will not only looking into energy savings, we want to look into various aspects of building renovation. We want to look into, for example, how big the effects of building renovation into specific building is on the indoor climate, as I mentioned, socioeconomic assessment, as I mentioned, or the environmental impact. And we quantify that, and we provide you and the user with a very vast and extensive report telling them, okay, when you invest that much money, you gain so much more when you look into all these different fields. For example, as a municipality, you invest in renovation, and then you can count on a productivity increase of the occupants. You can count on health increase of the occupants. You can count on tax returns because the economy is increasing. And we give numbers to these factors, which means some usual payback periods, which are 20 years, 15 years, could be reduced significantly because we are not only looking into energy savings. And here you see the different modules. So we start with the energy calculation, which is our starting point. So we look into the specific building and we make a static calculation based on cooling and heating degree days, on the building characteristics and climate data, and we estimate the energy consumption and the energy demand if the real data is not available. Based on this energy demand and the data we get, we perform LCA, life cycle assessment on the building. For example, on the materials, especially on the building technology. So how much resources do we need to renew the building technology? And isn't it better to leave it there, or how big is the effect of new construction compared to a renovation? So these are the topics that are discussed here. In the indoor climate module, we're looking into the quality of the indoor air and temperature, for example, and this is based on window specs, weather, location. Especially, we have this module especially for schools, so we can estimate the effects of the geometry of the building, of the insulation of the building technology on the indoor climate, and how this vice versa affects the productivity of pupils in schools and also the health of them. And we can provide numbers for that, economical numbers, saying, okay, this costs you an increase of productivity, saves you so 10% of your spendings on your workers, for example, or it's about 2 to 5%, which is actually compared to what you usually spend for a building operation, quite a number. Then we have the socioeconomic module, which is based on a Bayesian network, on a probability assessment, because here we deal with a lot of weak numbers, a lot of estimates, and we want to provide the user a transparent way. So we are giving out numbers with a probability that it will occur in your surrounding, in the user's surrounding. This is based on scientific studies, knowledge, and on the specific data. We will have a workshop about this in particular, and then you can dig into this socioeconomic area. Last but not least, we have the supply side assessment, which is kind of the counterpart to the rest, because we want to prove that energy efficiency compared to the supply side is better off long term. And you should invest first in energy efficiency and second in energy supply. So this is why we have also energy supply module, which is creating and providing the opportunities for the energy supply side. And we provide numbers on how big are the benefits from the supply side compared to the energy efficiency side by every euro invested. Yes. And then, and this is also something we want to discuss in the following up workshop, is the reporting for the tool. So we know that we have very different stakeholders, and we might have a very expert, a staff member who is very deep into building renovation, and it's a very technical person who knows exactly what to do with all this data sets. And we might have decision makers from politics or from an upper level who is not really into deep renovation or renovation of buildings in general. So we should provide an output for both of them, and that is useful for both of them. So we will have 2 to 3 different levels of reporting. One will be showing only the overall costs, benefits, maybe in different scenarios, on a visualized GIS map. And then for the expert, we will have the option that they download data sets, they perform collations based on our outputs in their tools. And also the grade of information in the GIS model will be different and deeper. To give you a glance how it could look like in the end, we will have here a first introduction to the interface of our tool. I want to briefly go through with you that you know what it could feel like. Here, for example, we have the registration side where the user logs in. There will be an admin in every administration in every municipality and region who will guide you and help you and register you. And yeah, there's a registration page. Here you will put some information about the current location where you work, position, and based on that, the tool will offer you some functionality, more or less. For example, here we added the tool in an expert mode, so we will get full functionality and we have the full functions in the reporting mode. Next step would be, as a user, I need to connect my data with the tool. And here we have 3 options. I can either create a database from scratch that I think is helpful for very small municipalities with 2 to 3 buildings that already have data, but only in simple Excel sheets or similar things. And they can create an own database in the EERAdata format already, so we can read it out directly. Then we have the option to read in a database which is established before, and it will be transformed into our tool. And then, of course, there's the way to manually entry data with the slots, and you just provide numbers for each indicator, like building size, building height. How does it look like? So this is the idea by now, but we're open to discuss this, is that if you upload your own database that is existing already, you can drag and drop the different sections, for example, when it's a different language or has a different format, into the EERAdata defined names and formats. This is how it looks now. We're working on it to make it maybe semi-automatically in the future, but this is something that we also would like to discuss in a workshop with you. And this is upcoming. I think in January we planned this workshop. Then you add the project information, the name of the building, address of the building, which city it is, address line. So this is very important for the reporting in the end. And then you choose the type of renovation. And also here you have 2 options. One option would be you select the renovation scenario overall. So you say, okay, I don't want to care about renovating a window or renovating the envelope. I just want to put one standard over the whole building, like an ambitious renovation, moderate renovation, or even nearly zero energy building renovation. And then you have the chance to make a personalized renovation, which is also available only in the expert mode. And you can select single parts of the building compartments and renovate them or put your own standards that you want to apply. For example, here we want to exchange the windows and we want to have a moderate standard on it. And then our tool knows the cost for it and the effects that it has on, for example, the indoor climate. And then in the end, you get the results, which is visualized here in a CityGML JS file, and you select the building that you want to, and you get an overview over the different potentials. This is how we envision it at the moment. The tool is under programming, so we see that we will, in spring 2021, we will have the tool functional, and then the interface also will evolve, and also with your help, I think we can improve a lot here. To end the presentation, I want to introduce you to the workshops that are upcoming. As I mentioned, there will be a few of them, and they will be targeted to specific stakeholders, groups. For example, here, workshop 1 will be on the 25th of November, and we will have the target groups of policymakers, decision makers, implementers, technical planning staff, energy agencies. We want to know here, for example, how should the reporting look like? What do you really need? Do you need plain numbers? Do you need bar charts? Do you need dynamic visualizations, scenario graphs? And this is something we want to discuss here. Every workshop will be 120 minutes. So we will have an impulse lecture, and then we will have 40 to 90 minutes in breakout rooms, which we will moderate. And we will have time for networking, feedback, questions, and insights. The second workshop will be in January, and we'll tackle the problems and the chances of databases and data collection. So we want to learn from your experiences. Where do you store your data? How do you work with data? How is it able to export the data and for us to import it to our tool? Same structure. Yeah, and this will happen in January. In February, we will have a workshop to assess the modules of the DST. So it will be a very technical workshop, scientific workshop, thinking about our algorithms, our methodologies, and how we could improve them, how it works together, how the results are looking like. So we want to discuss here the different modules I introduced earlier. Then we have the socioeconomic assessment workshop, which is going into this weaker, or let's say softer values like health, or also psychological health, poverty, demographic issues, job creation, like I mentioned. And also here we want to learn from your experiences and also know what topics are of very high interest. Should we rank them different? Should we weight? Should we integrate a weighting system saying, okay, these topics are higher ranked and we should put more effort to them, or the results and numbers should be ranked higher in the reporting. And then in workshop 5, we have the testing and practical implementation phase. So here, this is basically the start in April, where we want to test and deploy our tool to users, and you have the chance to test it and implement it, and we have the chance to improve it with your help. And this will be the start of it, the kickoff, to say. And there will be several roundtables in the different regions, and we will, of course, have a very strong collaboration during this phase with all implementing partners. This is it from my side. Thank you very much. We have a panel now established with a few partners, technical partners and implementing partners, and I will also be glad to answer your questions. Shruti, our team member from the comms team, will moderate this session, and we hope that you have, I could raise some interest from your side, and you see it's already, it's developing. There's a lot of things happening, and I think we are very happy to collaborate with you in the future, and I think it helps us very much to improve the tool, since we want to develop something that is really useful and not something that is going directly to the trash bin in the future. So please ask as many questions and everything that comes into your mind. We're happy to answer them. And now I would give the word to Shruti, and we can continue here.
Thanks, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you saying something? So am I audible?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Perfect.
So hi everyone. Good morning. I hope that you're having a great day and that the webinar has been informative. Like Sebastian said, you may have a lot of questions which our panelists will be happy to answer. So please do type in any questions that you may have into the Q&A chat box, and we'll be happy to take them on. I'm conscious of time, so Without further ado, I have a couple of questions that we have. But just to reiterate, at any point, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A box. So the first question that we have, I have limited budget and the upper management is asking which buildings and what renovation type I need to choose to get the largest impact and solve the largest number of problems. How can EERAdata support me in this task? So this question is open to the panelists, whoever would like to take it.
I think I would take these general questions. Yeah, I think this question is exactly what the tool is made for. Is since a lot of municipalities have a limited budget, and I think this is the core problem for renovation, for the barriers that hinder municipalities to invest more in renovation, is that they're usually dependent on funds from EU, or they have a limited budget, or the politicians are not willing to pay as much as they should. And I think what we are providing is not the solution that you get more money, but our tool is providing arguments and chains of arguments that could improve your position in the argumentation with the authorities and the money and the budget owners. For example, if there's a limited budget and you say, okay, I want to renovate this kindergarten or this school, and it's just not enough to make a proper deep renovation with it. Our numbers increasing the health of pupils, the productivity of pupils, that it increases kind of the aesthetics in the building, that the job creation is increasing, the jobs are increasing in the place, the construction companies have jobs, there's tax returns. I think the combination of all these values could improve the argument to say, okay, let's invest a little more, and in the long term, we profit from it much more. And I think kind of triggering the thinking of municipalities to think like an investor, as a positive investor, and thinking about the variable of returns that you get from what you invested. I hope this was good.
So we have another question that's come in. Do I go ahead with that?
Yes. Maybe any other questions to my answer? Is there any uncertainties?
The question that we've got is, how do you figure out the impact of each parameter?
Yeah, this is where we have our modules and methodologies we are developing. So actually, it depends on the section. If it's the energy questions or indoor climate or LCA effects, these are something that we are simulating. So there will be calculations for each parameter, indicating what happens to the building when you renovate it. And for the socioeconomic parameters, we will work based on knowledge. So that means we estimate based on previous projects, on previous scientific results, and we use these outcomes to and map them on the location where we are. So we will not use it directly and saying, okay, for every million invested, you create 10 jobs. But it could be that in the municipality where we are working, there is no construction company. So why should we create jobs there? So we look into what is out there, and then we adapt the results that we get from science to this area.
So another question that's just come in. How are you planning to keep the variables for the default data update?
For now, this is a good question, actually. So for now, we are thinking of 1 year ahead, and we use the data for next year. We will not update it. We will have connection to some automated databases, for example, for the weather data. So it's easy to update it from there. For example, the socioeconomic values, variables, that is a very hard task. I need to say, this is something that we will elaborate during the testing phase next year. And it also depends highly on how the tool will be maintained after the research project is over. If it's becoming a commercial tool, or if we use it, or the municipalities use it by themselves. This is something that we need to figure out.
So moving on, we have another question. What type of IT tools do you use, and are they open source?
We program the IT tool by ourselves. So the EERAdata DST will be programmed. It will be an available tool, and it's open source. We will have, of course, some code will not be publicly available, but the most of it will be, and it's free to use. And we will have a guidebook for it. And of course, we are happy. I mean, if the more people that use it, the better it is for us. And you're very welcome to join us in the implementation phase next year to try it out and install it and give us feedback. But we will not be able to make data from, for example, Copenhagen available, or sensitive data from Copenhagen available to other municipalities to work with it. However, we will have data like publicly open data that is available in online databases that you can see. For example, Copenhagen has a vast amount of data available online for everyone. We collect this, of course, in the tool, and I think it should be of no problem for anyone else to find this data.
There's another question that I have. It's a slightly longer question, so let me know if you want me to repeat it. Why is EERAdata addressing ecological, social, and health-related aspects of renovation, like indoor climate, living comfort, quality of air, etc., while the main theme of the call is energy efficiency? LCA measures might be taken in a pinch as related to general efficiency issues, but the rest seems not to have anything in common with efficiency, and even less with energy efficiency.
Yeah, try my best to answer it. It's a very good question, because it's actually the core of why the project was established. In the first perspective, it doesn't have so much in common. For example, if I look into aesthetics in socioeconomic areas, why do I need it for energy efficiency? And isn't there an easier, straightforward solution for that? Basically, we identified the main idea behind the energy efficiency first principle is to motivate people to renovate or establish energy efficiency measures. And when you dig a little bit deeper, then you find out that the renovation rates are not high enough and people are not renovating or are not using energy efficiency measures. And we think that there is a motivational and a very logical problem here, because the budgeting and the planning schemes that are out there are too narrow to only a few indicators and only a few parameters. And we want to extend this range by saying, okay, we go beyond energy efficiency. We're not only looking into energy efficiency, we provide you much more insights on the effects that you have when you put energy efficiency into place. In the same time, it closes the chain. If you understand what benefits it has, then you invest more in energy efficiency. And this is exactly what energy efficiency first principle wants to achieve. Clear?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the answer. We have another question that's come in, an interesting question. Is the focus of EERAdata the refurbishment of single buildings, or will there also be an assessment of neighborhood measures like district heating?
We will have district heating in place, or we will have it analyzed. We had a supply side assessment saying, okay, we compare energy efficiency measures on the building with the effects of district heating. And it's also something we want to discuss in the workshop together with you, is actually, does it make sense to, for example, if we look at the life cycle assessment and at the same time we have for district heating with a primary energy factor of 0, so, and the operational primary energy consumption goes towards 0 in the balance. So what does it make sense then to compare it? And this is something we want to do with our numbers, and we want to provide the information on the energy consumption in general. And the other question was, sorry, I just lost it. Here. We are focusing on single buildings, yes, but it's planned to have a batch simulation. So you can select So the tool itself will always assess one building, one address, but you will have the opportunity to apply the same measures on a selected range of buildings, and it will be simulated in a batch. So they will be simulated after each other, and the reporting will be combined for all these buildings. So in theory, you have the option to assess a block, for example, or a quarter. It just will be more complex and takes a little longer.
Are you planning on using neuronal networks to handle and work with the big data that you gather?
In this project, not yet. I think this will be something that if in the next improvement iteration phase of the tool, we could think about this, using the neural networks to learn from the data that we are gathering. And I think this would be a very nice improvement. But for now, I think we're good of using the real data that is out there. But I think this is definitely a nice extension and would be a very good topic for following up project on that, or a spin-off. There's one coming.
Yeah. How can cities bring their data in the right format that the DST can work with it, enabling the DST to work with it?
For now, we are helping the cities, or we are collecting the data with the cities together. The future will be that we will have a guideline on how to create the databases. And as I briefly showed you, we will have a functionality in the tool which helps you to upload your database or your structure, and then you can assign the different elements to what we need for our tool to work. So there will be a simplified support function that will help you to create the data in the right format. And we will also have a database which you can fill in the right way. If you want to do it manually or start to create a database, we can provide you with the right guidelines to do so.
Hello.
Or Toby, yeah.
Yeah, so this is Toby from Trilateral. We're handling data collection and integration. And just to add a quick point to what Sebastian said, we're working with the municipalities at the moment to standardize and format data in the way that is suitable for the decision support tool. But like you mentioned, in the future, we will create guidelines which different other secondary implementers can then use to format their data before actually providing it. But at the moment, we're working to clean, prepare, and format the data in a way that is suitable for the decision support tool itself.
I think this is a follow-up question. It says, what about GDPR? I think this maybe Toby can take this one.
GDPR is definitely something that we have considered and we continue to consider in the development of the tool itself. At the moment, any data that is pertaining to actual that is individually identifiable will be anonymized, but there's not much of that at all within this project. It's mainly specific to buildings and not to individuals. But in any case that GDPR applies with regards to individually identifiable data, then it is definitely considered.
Yes, so since there is nothing coming up, I wanted to thank you all very, very much for joining us to this webinar. And I hope that you're interested now and you will join us for the next steps of the project as well, and the workshops that are coming up. So thank you all very much for joining this webinar. I wish you a good day. Stay safe, and we will keep you informed with the newsletter about the next dates and about the next steps in our project. And yeah, spread the word. We hope that you enjoyed the first introduction here, and have a good week and a good time. Thank you very much. Goodbye to everyone.